Ninth Circuit out there trying to promote its view. Joining us right now, American University's Capri Cafaro. And Capri, as we watch this all unfold, I guess I would just ask you, what's next? In other words, if the Ninth Circuit is like, okay, you know, he has no right to do this, as they previously decided as well, does it then go to the Supreme Court? Do you anticipate that it will go there? And how does that go, given that it's missing a justice?
Exactly. I mean, we're really in a very difficult position. I think the Trump administration had the opportunity, which they took, to redo the original executive order, trying to navigate the challenges that were presented originally by the Ninth Circuit, and seemingly it has not, really remedied any of those issues. So now, they're sort of faced with, do they go back to the drawing board again, which I doubt, particularly given what President Trump said yesterday.
Let me jump in for a moment, Capri, and just point out that this new version of it effectively changes the rules for any people from these countries, Ashley, these 6 countries. If they had previously been issued visas, we're going to honor those visas.
Yes.
So that was kind of a legal sticking point for folks before.
And green card holders, yes.
And the green card issue as well.
Yes. So that's all gone now. Donald Trump himself there on the campaign trail last night saying, the first order was pretty good. Maybe we should have stuck with the first order. I question where it goes, given this division in the court. He better work pretty aggressively to get Gorsuch in there so that he's got a vote on his side.
Yes.
Yeah, you agree.
I agree with that. I mean, and obviously, we haven't really heard a lot about, the Supreme Court nominee and the nomination process. It's really been eclipsed by, the health care debate, and certainly now this budget that has just come out. And so we really haven't heard a lot about it. But, I think a lot of folks thought that the executive order with the travel ban issue was put to rest with this new issuance. Obviously, it is not. And, the judge in Hawaii basically said that, it's regardless of what was going on with the that 1952 or 1954 law that you mentioned at the beginning, Trish, that it's the executive order is still in conflict with the Establishment Clause because it is a de facto, ban, on religion. So I think that I don't know how you get past that unless you bring that to the Supreme
this is
Court
not a ban on religion, though, and I want to bring Ford O'Connell into the conversation. He's a Republican strategist as well, and the left is going to try and paint this as a Muslim ban, and it's not. It is if it were actually a Muslim ban, you'd be banning all Muslim countries, would you not, Ford? I mean, as opposed to just these 6?
There's 42 predominantly Muslim countries, and guess what? A lot of them are not on this list, and it's absolutely ridiculous to say. Let me say this as the only lawyer on the panel. What the Hawaii judge is saying is that Donald Trump is basically violating the Establishment Clause because he's allowing in statements that Trump made as a candidate, which should not be allowed in. It should be inadmissible because he's not a government actor at that point.
Yeah.
So if you actually make that fruit of the poisonous tree, guess what? Then you cannot infer intent, and you have to go by the letter of the law. Something else, Trish. The Ninth Circuit has been overruled the most by the Supreme Court in the last 10 years in an 80% clip. The biggest problem here is, and I don't care whether there's 9 liberal justices or 9 conservative justices sitting on the Supreme Court, the left knows this. How you frame a question in a lower court can determine the exact outcome. And unfortunately, the left is beating us to the punch on this point, because when Barack Obama became president of the United States, Democrats only controlled 2 of the 13 federal circuits. Now they control 9 of the 13 federal circuits. If I'm Donald Trump, what I really want to do here is I want to start going forum shopping, find my own victim, have the 2 circuits, the 5th and the 9th, meet at the Supreme Court, and then guess what? He's going to win.
Look, I find it baffling that a judge in Hawaii, sitting way over there in Hawaii, somehow seems to know more about national security than the President of the United States, Dan Mitchell, who is being briefed on this daily by his intel ops. I mean, how is it that we're coming to a point where a judge in Washington, a judge in Hawaii, a judge in Maryland somehow knows more than the president when it comes to our safety and security?
Well, judges, in theory, are supposed to be doing rulings on the basis of the law and the Constitution. But there's really 2 questions here. Did the judge or the circuit overstep what their proper legal boundaries were? And then the second issue is, well, is Trump's underlying travel ban and travel restrictions and enhanced vetting, are those good policies? And I'm perfectly willing to believe that judges overstep, but I also wonder whether or not we're cutting off our nose to spite our face by hindering travel and business between the United States and other countries. I think we should be very careful to strike the right balance.
They're investigating 300 refugees in this country right now. Sure, Capri.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say in regards to, the commerce and this sort of thing, in underserved communities, without, the J-1 visas and the visas that enable individuals to come into this country that are trained to serve underserved areas like the ones that I represented for 10 years, like Ashtabula County, that had really no specialists. We actually had an issue at the Cleveland Clinic during the first travel ban where someone was detained and was having a difficult time coming back in. So, I think that there is something to be said about the implications of the travel ban on specifically medical professionals and how from these specific areas of the world and how that may directly impact of recruitment.
Ashley, there are provisions that enable people to get waivers if they are of vital importance. It just seems to me we are right now, as we speak, investigating 300 refugees that are in this country right now. That was just announced a couple of weeks ago.
Listen,
I mean, if we're investigating people that we already let in, why are we going to let in more?
I am sure there are great students who can come here and do great things. I'm sure there are businesses who are suffering because of some of these travel restrictions that are being imposed. But that aside, what's more important, that or the security of this country? And until we can properly vet and properly figure out who these people are, where they came from, what their intent is, and I quite frankly don't know how you do that from these 6 particular countries where what kind of documentation, what kind of background can you get?
They're concerned about economic consequences there in Hawaii. I'll tell you one thing. If something bad happens in this country, the economic consequences are going to be a whole lot more severe than whether or not you got a particular professional or a particular student in and out of Hawaii at any given moment.
Well, absolutely right. Look, the liberals and the left always want to come up with a sob story here. But when it comes to national security, combined with the statutory authority of the 1952 McCarran-Walter Act, the president's authority on this, if he even just shows a rational reason, should be unquestioned by judges. But remember what's happening here. You've got 2 problems. One, you have the left's understanding of national security, and 2, you actually have political appointees on a federal bench who are going to push their political agenda over what the Constitution, the letter of the law, and the document says. We basically have a 3-way going the wrong way, and guess what? The left is enjoying every second of it.
And I think that there are political reasons for. Hang on, Capri. Let me jump in because I think you can add some color to this. There are political reasons, are there not, for the left to do this right now? In other words, they want to undermine Donald Trump as a president. They want to see this blow up into a very big issue that effectively becomes a real question about who should be on the Supreme Court. So now people are engaged, the left is engaged, and for whatever reason, some members of the left feel that, okay, this is a Muslim ban, and we've got to do everything we possibly can to stop it. And so I just wonder, from a political perspective, if this is entirely what the left is doing.